Let's talk about what happens when the NBA expands. Does the new team have to fill their entire roster with free agents? No, they don't. The NBA will have an expansion draft. That means the new expansion teams can actually steal contracts from other teams, but they will not be able to take the best players from other teams, because every team can protect up to 8 players. But teams might not protect their best players. They'll probably protect their best contracts. One thing I was curious about is, what if a player has a no trade clause? Like if there was an expansion draft next season and the Suns left Bradley Beal unprotected, then the new team selects Bradley Beal. Could he veto that? I don't know. I think that's a bridge that they haven't crossed yet in the NBA. Now, let's say at the end of the season, a team only has 8 players under contract. Does that mean they get to protect all 8 of their players? No, every team has to have at least 1 unprotected player. Another thing is, a team can't have more than 1 player selected from them. Even if there are 2 teams in the expansion draft, only 1 player can be selected from each team. So let's take a team like the Boston Celtics. They've got a really deep team and a lot of really good contracts. So let's say the new team from Seattle wants Neemias Queta, but the team from Vegas wants Luke Kornet. The team from Vegas would be out of luck. Okay, but what if a team is over the salary cap and then they just lose a player? They can't sign a new player to replace the old player because they're over the cap. Actually, they can sign a new player, because if the new expansion team selects a player from your team, you get a trade exception the value of that salary. So let's say the Mexico City team selects Kevin Huerter. Since Huerter's salary is $16 million, the Kings now have a $16 million trade exception they can use to go over the salary cap. Here's what's crazy though. In 2004, when the Bobcats did their expansion draft, they selected 19 players from other teams, but they didn't keep them all. They traded some of them, and some of them they even waived. Seems kind of wasteful to me. For instance, they selected Zaza Pachulia from the Orlando Magic, but then the Bobcats immediately traded him to the Bucks. So the expansion draft isn't necessarily how the expansion teams get players, it's how they get assets. And those assets can be traded for other players or draft picks. Speaking of draft picks, how does the NBA decide what draft pick they get in the actual NBA draft? Are they automatically put into the draft lottery? What are their lottery odds? Well, no, the NBA just gives them a draft pick. The Bobcats were given the 4th pick in the 2004 draft. The Grizzlies were given the 6th pick in the 1995 draft, and the Raptors were given the 7th pick in the 1995 draft. I assume the NBA has not come up with a system for this just because expansion drafts really don't happen very often.